and welcome to an all-new Marvelcast Explosion Network's hub for all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Blackheart and Greylight. I'm Ashley Hobley, your Iron podcast host, and joining me today is Sacha Dylan Blight.
Good to be here, talking about how we always knew for 5-6 years.
This was always going to be the point where he was going to show up.
Yep, this was always what we were talking about.
Always the plan.
Yep.
Yes, so today we're talking about the second half of Ironheart, a series that has taken quite the turn from what we probably expected it to be. A series about the Iron Man successor, very tech-heavy person.
Yeah.
Just delving into the world of magic.
No, this is what I 4 years ago when we were talking about WandaVision, this is what I meant. This is what I meant all the time.
Yeah. Always knew it would be that.
I think
character
you'll go back
introduced...
if you go back and listen. Yeah.
I'm
say it.
Pretty sure in WandaVision you said they'll introduce this Riri Williams character in Black Panther Wakanda Forever after Chadwick.
Yep. I predicted it.
The role gets passed on.
Yeah.
and
Nothing gets past me.
She would get her own show.
Yeah.
That gets delayed for a real long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then this character would show up in that end of that.
Damn right.
Crazy.
I know what you're joking about. That's exactly.
Go back and listen to each episode of our WandaVision discussion. Yes. We are talking about these episodes, so let's dive in. Please be aware we will be freely discussing everything about pop themes in any of the series. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. With that said, let's talk about these last 4 episodes of Ironheart, including episode 4, Bad Magic, directed by Angela Barnes, written by Amir Sulaiman. Episode 5, Come as a Glitch, directed by Angela Barnes, written by Cristian Martinez. And episode 6, The Past is the Past, also directed by Angela Barnes and written by Chinaka Hodge. Dylan, what did you think of this second half of Ironheart?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like it's a bit different than the first 3 episodes. Obviously, it's almost like the first 3 episodes are more of the science, baby, and then the last 3 is like magic.
In hindsight, it now makes a little bit more sense that they did them in 3 episode chunks, I guess.
I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, if you're going to do it in any sort of chunks,
it does.
I don't think they could have done it in 2 episode bits.
No.
Yeah, the way
dealing with the way we're doing it. Yeah, it's 3 episodes of science, 3 episodes of magic. Yeah, I mean, overall, now that we're seeing it come to the end, I would say overall, I thought this was a decent Marvel series with a weird release schedule. Easily one of the better ones. I mean, there's many worse ones than this. Many worse ones than this. Which is wild to me how, again, that this is getting hated on so much. It's insanity. Yeah, I think the only thing that holds it back ultimately is that by the time we reach the end of the season, it does feel like half a story. It's almost like we still haven't, if the stuff I was finding most interesting is, I guess, the way they were telling the story of this person coming to terms with their grief and the passing of their friend, and ultimately the way the season ends is with she's made a deal with the literal devil to get her back, but we know that's not going to play out the way he wants, and she still hasn't really come to terms with anything. So it sort of feels like the halfway mark of this grief story.
They called it a mini series, but
yeah,
it can't
end there. That's but I guess if I judging it on its own, I think the only thing I thought the overall 3 episodes went along quite nicely. I'd say the other thing that bothered me the most was just feeling like the Obadiah stuff was like, that's right, fucking inject me and cut my head up, baby. Sort of, that seemed to go a bit too.
He went from 0 to 100 very quickly.
He went from 0 to 100 very, very fast. And then the other thing I would say is we got to know the crew so much that the last time we seen them is them just obviously leaving. I felt like that was a little bit I felt like they deserved more than that. They weren't just the side cut. Like they were more than I think they deserved a little bit more than that. They deserved at least another cutaway to them sort of thing. Also, I don't know, I just felt like they deserved that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I very much enjoyed this series. I thought the last 3 episodes were good. I enjoyed how it tied the magic stuff into it. And again, it's in a Marvel world now that's full of magic. So it makes perfect sense how heavy we go in the science and magic collaboration now. And yeah, surprisingly, as weird as the Mephisto stuff was, works for me, especially, and it does weirdly work with this story of someone trying to come with come to terms of the loss of their best friend and stuff. It sort of works. So yeah, I hope we get season 2 or the second part of this story somehow, because it's just definitely not, it's not a fulfilling season. It leaves off with you wanting more.
Yeah, I agree with all of what you said. I think obviously Opportunity saying I'm going to become a full bionics dude, just get rid of all my organs,
Yeah, when he said he loves bionics, he meant he loves bionics.
He loves bionics.
Yeah.
This was the thing that pushed me over the head, being in prison for like a couple of seconds.
Mm-hmm. Prison changes a man, they say. So.
Yeah, I think the stuff with the crew, I think that we could have had more, but I feel like if been confirmed that we're getting another season or like more story, you'd be like, oh, they're saving that for whenever we see them again. The Hood's crew, like they'll get like come back together or get revenge and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think Anthony Ramos is better in this second half. Like maybe he gets a little bit more villainous stuff to do, and like he's a little bit of a bitch. And his ultimate plan is to rob his own father. Isn't an incredible real in any regard. I'm like, but it was really enjoyable, and like obviously, yeah, all the Mephisto stuff is like, finally, it's crazy. And then yeah, for them to make that choice at the end of the episode, which I thought was wild. Did not see that coming because we expect it to be the classic. We suspect that by this point she would have learned her lesson. But no, sometimes people regress.
You know what I'll say?
Some people have to regress before they can learn it properly.
Yeah, I appreciate how messy of a character Riri is.
Yes, she ain't perfect. And let's be honest, she could ask for a lot of stuff. So yeah, I've really enjoyed how the magic stuff was introduced and like the whole family dynamic, like them all coming together to make that next suit. Which we'll get into it, but I was really upset when they blew it. I thought they blew it up again. I'm like, fucking hell, she's going through this.
So
it's like,
actually, yeah.
Like, how many suits is she going to go through the series? It's like,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, let's run through this recap of these episodes, which I got from Collider, written by Arazu Amin. So, starting with episode 4, the episode begins with a flashback of Parker and John on one of their earlier jobs, with John assuring Parker that the jobs they do are nothing personal against people and are just about the score. Whatever moral line you need to draw, I guess. The job goes badly as Parker finds the safe they're looking for, but is caught by the mansion's security guard. John arrives in time to stop the guard, but two of them need to split up to evade capture. In the present day, the crew, Clown, Ross, Jerry...
Also, I actually thought the opening scene was going to be like just a flashback to how I thought we were starting the second act with how he got the hood, but...
Yeah, no, they saved it.
Yeah.
Teased us. Yeah, so... yeah, Clown, Ross, Jerry, and Slug and Riri have gathered with Parker at the headquarters to mourn John. While the rest of them share memories, Parker keeps a close eye. He keeps his eye on Riri, suspicious thanks to the vision that the hood gave him last week. He sends the rest of them back to work, telling Riri he's got plans for her. She senses the menace in that tone and leaves, needing to find a way to fight back. Now more than ever, she heads home where she updates Natalie on her findings on the sliver of fabric from Parker's hood. As far as she can tell, it's like a heat engine in that it powers its host, in this case Parker. The problem is she can't tell where the energy originates, and it has to come from somewhere. The piece of Parker's hood disappears long enough for Riri to worry about it. Worry about her mother's, Ronnie's safety, as she assumes it means Parker has arrived at her house, but the fabric reappears as quickly as it vanished. I don't know why it did that, other than to tip off that maybe it's not a Science C product.
And they're just showing how unstable it is, I guess. I don't know.
Natalie tells Riri to direct her focus towards understanding the hood rather than spiraling over John and killing John in self-defense, as it's not helpful, and suggests she calls Shuri for help. Riri scoffs at the idea of walking Natalie through what would be the hypothetical conversation would look like, and concludes that Shuri would just hang up on her. Fair. She's got a country to run, I assume. No. I can't even remember what the political situation of Wakanda is.
I believe that's what... Yeah, again, I haven't watched that movie since... Can't remember what's going on.
I understand this is coming from a place of anxiety, not wanting to ask for more help than necessary. I also understand they have to address this because that's the MCU's problem of why don't you call your friends from that movie with a bigger budget than your TV show has, and needing to plausibly explain why not. But I could also believe that Shuri would hear. I also can't believe that Shuri would hear that Riri's was in any kind of danger and not at least ask a Dora Milaje or two to check up on her. Not to mention, Shuri has a ton of very recent experience with devastating losses and grief management in the face of tremendous responsibility. I'm sure she could share a point or two. Fair points.
Fair point.
Instead, Riri heads out to go talk to Ezekiel, since he's not answering his phone, and finds his house cordoned off by police tape. She asks his neighbor what's going on, and she explains that the police came and arrested him earlier that day, adding that they all know his real name, Ezekiel Stain, now. Riri checks the news and realizes the biomesh skin she left behind is what led the police to Ezekiel's house and got him charged with a whole host of things, including domestic terrorism. Man, crazy. I don't know how they jumped to that. I guess they assume he killed.
Yeah, they assume he killed. That's the whole thing. They're assuming he killed that old mate.
Everybody,
because he's who else would they blame? Of course, the cops.
I don't know if that would be domestic terrorism,
and all they do is find him. So.
He's killing a CEO, domestic terrorism.
I think you'll find if you look up Mario, whatever his name was, apparently it is.
Luigi.
Yeah, Luigi. Yeah. Sorry, Mario. No, Luigi, yeah.
Yeah. Parker's crew sees the news report, and even though they have no idea how this tech could have ended up at the scene, they're relieved that the police won't be looking for them. Clown can't let go of how strange this all is, though, with John dead and someone else conveniently framed for their work. And Parker acting stranger than he should, even if he's grieving. Strange is the right word, given that he has just spent the last 12 minutes submerged in a vice, so it looks like Riri was right about the hood having an effect on his body.
11 minutes, apparently. So, yeah, as to what I was saying, I remember I was saying last time we recorded, like wondering how long he can hold his breath for. But yeah, I guess this is showing that it is a skill that he has been... a muscle he's been developing on since he got the hood,
yeah. Riri heads to the prison to speak with Ezekiel, but he's got nothing to say to her, given that she didn't stick to the one thing he asked of her, which was not to get him implicated by borrowing his tech. Fair. Next, she returns to Parker's headquarters, where Clown lets slip that Parker is looking into bringing another tech specialist, except when Clown assumes it's going to be a second person to help Riri. Riri sees it for what it is, her replacement. Like John said, they don't do loose ends. Parker calls her into the office, playing it cool, but also letting her know he knows she went to Ezekiel for help and confirming they're going to bring in another tech specialist before sending Riri home. Back at home, Riri gives her mother a watch like the watch band and asks her to wear it at all times, even when they're sleeping. Then tells Natalie she's going out to see Xavier to give him the same wristband. The two share a sweet moment with Xavier, assuring Riri she doesn't need to be a good person because she is so much more than that. Riri goes on back home to the revelation that the only person shipping Xavier and Riri harder than me is Natalie, which must be a holdover from when she was alive. So she hasn't seen the two of them together since come back as an AI. Riri tries to get some sleep in a suit of all things, but is woken up by her mother screaming. The watch she gave her, it turns out, is designed to protect the wearer from gunshots. The only problem is it's so sensitive it picks up the gunshots on TV as the real things, trapping Ronnie inside a protective bubble while she's trying to watch X-Files.
Yeah.
To be fair, X-Files not a show you would expect much gunfire from, Brett.
No, there's gunfire.
Okay. All them aliens can.
It's not SWAT, but
enough is enough. Ronnie sits her daughter down and demands to know what's going on.
Just pause this. We watched one episode of X-Files for that Christmas episode.
Yes.
There was guns fired in that. There was guns fired in. Yes. They start firing at the ghosts in that episode.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ronnie sits her daughter down and demands to know what's going on, and more importantly, how she can help. She offers to do some kind of cleansing, and Riri latches onto the idea of her mother's brand of magic at once. Ronnie takes her to see Madeline at her shop where she sells both sweets and crystals with the help of her daughter, Zelma. Zelma doesn't believe that they're just there for crystals, noticing that Riri's got something in her pocket, and uses a transportation spell to take them to a parallel plane to examine it. Zelma and Madeline...
Yeah, it was really at this point that I was like, oh, we're in the magic episodes now.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a Doctor Strange spin-off now. Like,
I mean...
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Not far, because I don't know if you know who Zelma is in the comics.
Yeah, it's his assistant or something.
His
like
assistant,
that,
yes.
Yeah.
So, Zelma and Madeline examined this fragment and concluded it was created in another dimension. It is very old. As they examine it, Zelma reveals that Madeline trained in Kamatage for a while before leaving to raise her, and then growing up in Chicago instead has forced her to hone her own kind of magic, which she uses to reveal that the hood is from a dark dimension and is probably influencing Parker. Madeline stops Zelma from revealing more than that and ushers Ronnie and Fury out of the store. Outside of the two of them have it out, with Ronnie frustrated that the daughter doesn't trust her enough to tell her when she's in trouble, especially since Riri used to have no trouble going to Gary. Riri pushes back, saying Ronnie only wants to deal with things her way, then summons a suit and leaves. Ezekiel gets a visit in prison for Parker, who wants to recruit him to work with the crew. Ezekiel's upset. He can turn invisible, mate.
Yeah, but like, how's he get into the doors are controlled from? I don't know.
He can turn invisible, and he's got a hacking crew.
Yeah, okay, the hacking crew part. Yeah, I was like, just because you're invisible doesn't mean you can just.
Yeah. Ezekiel is upset that he can't go back to his old life, but the way Parker sees it, it's a chance for him to for a fresh start as Zeke Stain. So I guess we should start calling him Zeke now. And gives him until that night to respond. He must somehow answer in the affirmative, or else Parker just wanted him to give him the option, because that night the chute shuts down the prison and unlocks Zeke's door to let him out. Also, they kept all his equipment at the prison as well. Seems like an odd choice.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's that's a weird that's a weird writing choice, but whatever.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Riri heads to Zeke's bunker. To have someone quiet to work on a way to destroy the hood. Classic, going to the place of the friend that you screwed over to use all this stuff for science stuff. No matter what she tries, nothing even makes a dent. Hitting dead end after dead end, Riri takes the suit out for a flight, but has Natalie pull over as she begins to have a panic attack. Natalie lets her out in a junkyard, then flies off to get some help. She returns to Xavier's place and wordlessly ushers him into the suit, bringing him to the yard. Once they establish that Riri is okay, Natalie projects herself to finally meet Xavier, but he is horrified to see what Riri has done with his sister's image. To him, this isn't honoring her, it's pretending like she's still alive. He tells her to delete Natalie, and Riri hesitates just long enough that Natalie gets offended and leaves with the suit.
This is one part I was a little bit annoyed we didn't get more of, I guess, because you now have the real dilemma of
this is a real tech dilemma.
This is a
probably
real
likely
tech
to
dilemma
face in the near future.
Yeah, because she has come around and, as seen in the last episode, so attached to this version, and not in a like there's an episode of Black Mirror where someone like brings back a loved one using AI, but they begin really thinking it's that person. Like, at no point does Riri ever really think it's her dead friend, but she starts to grow a relationship with this as a new version of her friend, of a friend. But yeah, with him bringing up obviously the argument of using tech for bad, and what's here, the real potential to delve deeper into that. We don't quite get there, but there was still always the potential for it in a follow-up season, I guess. But because he says he still doesn't like it by then. Well, he still says he doesn't like it, and it depends on the direction they go. They could go because I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think they're going to revisit it based on how these events of the series played out. But
yeah, but I just don't think that that's going to stick if they did a follow up.
I mean, it's interesting because obviously the fact that this version of Natalie can get offended and upset implies that this is a sentient being, and thus just deleting it is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, well, that's the test, right? Isn't it? Or,
Yeah. So back at Parker's headquarters, Zeke gets right into the swing of things with all the tech and crew brought over for him, and Slug helps him get hooked up to a machine to introduce bionic enhancements to his body. But where Zeke's code would allow him to remain the administrator of his own body, Slug overrides it to give Parker control instead, without Zeke knowing. As for Parker, he sends the rest of the crew out after Riri, sending them, telling them she's the one who killed John, and he wants her head.
There's a weird ending to this episode, actually. Just the whole way I don't know. It was just a weird 2 minutes. The way it was edited and sort of put together. But anyway.
Yep. On that ominous note, we head right into the next episode, which opens with AI Natalie watching old videos of Riri and real Natalie until Slug shows up, grabs her, throwing her in a truck. Again, interesting is like replaying the video that we saw at the very start of the season. And this AI Natalie like trying to compare herself and like trying to mirror all of the actions she's doing in the video.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting as well.
Also, the way she was sitting reminded me very much of Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man 3, like sitting on the donut, sort of.
It's Iron Man 2, right?
Is it? Oh, no, Iron Man 2. Whatever. I'm not a fan. Yeah. What do I know?
Meanwhile, Riri finds her way out of the junkyard and into a White Castle, where she meets up with Zelma.
Shout out to Harold Kumar.
Yeah, putting White Castle on the map. Also, I think the key thing here is it seems to be completely automated kitchen, right?
No, there's people behind the counter when they.
There was people. Okay.
Yeah, when they come in.
I guess I wasn't paying attention until everybody got checked out.
Yeah, no, there was people behind the
counter. But there were robots doing stuff as well.
Was it
flipping burgers?
Was it
and stuff, or just rearranging stuff?
Oh, the hand things. Yeah, there were hands.
Yeah. She meets up with Zelma to talk more about what she's discovered examining the cloak. Zelma is 50% sure that the person behind the hood is Dormammu. And you thought Kamatage was the only Doctor Strange reference we were getting. Who may want to use the hood to come to Earth. I'm like, that's a weird choice.
Yeah, at this point, I was like, weird way to bring Dormammu back into this, but okay.
It's like, just from that hood, She points out the similarities in symptoms between Parker and Calaxis, who Mads Mikkelsen from Doctor Strange. But even in that case, Riri doesn't see any motivation in any of it.
Do you ever sometimes wish, like we could do the really super, some shows should go like a super comic booky, and like at times like this, it comes up with an asterisk on the screen that says like, as seen in Doctor
or like
Strange,
a YouTube video pop up.
Yeah, like, something like that. Because the one good thing about reading comic books compared to these shows and stuff is if you are confused at any point and feel like you're missing a reference, it tells you you're missing a reference with an asterisk telling you where you'll find information on said reference.
Listen, Disney Plus, do the little YouTube thing, It's like, maybe like wait a week so all the fresh fans, and then when people have pointed out like things, or like have like a mode where you can like quickly cut to another thing that explains it,
Just take that idea, Disney. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll give it to you for free. You're not well off it or anything.
Promote this podcast. That's fine.
Yeah, just give some resources, something out there.
Yeah. It's the first trailer for Avengers.
Yeah,
exclusively explosionova.com.
In this audio podcast, yeah.
Yes.
We'll play the audio.
No, they don't. Yeah, we just get to react to it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parker isn't a powerful wizard like Alexis was, but Zelma points out that
Dormammu...
Dormammu probably doesn't care, as Parker's ambition makes him easy to manipulate. Which, in hindsight, leads us to another person. Anyway, Roz and Jerry show up to kill Riri, and she sends Zelma away before fighting them off long enough to drop the protective watch that Xavier returned to her at their feet. She asks them to kill her quickly with a gun, so the sound triggers the watch's protective field, trapping them inside. Perhaps assuming that the two of them would be able to handle it alone, Clown arrives next to finish the job. I've enjoyed this fight sequence. I think, very resourceful, and it's like fun seeing them, or at least Riri, run around and kind of use her smarts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't mind.
She can also take a punch. She takes a few hits.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
Good times. They can take hits. Like, she was hitting with a lot of heavy metal shit, and they would no selling. Crazy.
All I know is I was sort of shocked. So Zoe Terex is in Talk to Me, the Australian one.
Yeah.
Surprised. I remember seeing when they were cast, I was like, oh, they won't be in it much, but turns out,
yeah,
in it a lot.
Yeah, Riri rigs some kitchen tools to fight Clown off too, but not before planting a seed of doubt as to the close nature of the team, telling Clown that Parker had Stuart killed.
Rampage!
I was waiting. When he no longer suited their needs.
I feel that's so bad that I forgot for a split second what his fucking name was. Anyway, yeah, Rampage.
Yeah. Slug pulls up on Riri in the truck, but as Natalie manages to bust out with the suit and scoops Riri up. With the danger gone, Riri and Natalie have it out, with Natalie saying she's offended that Riri would even consider deleting her. She turns herself off, meaning that Riri has to take the flight suit. It takes flight into her suit. Something strikes it. Natalie doesn't answer. Riri lands to find one member of Parker's crew she couldn't have possibly accounted for. Zeke, now with majorly enhanced bionic abilities. He has a little too much fun zapping Riri with the electricity he can now summon from his fingers. Is it Zeke Stain or Zeke Palpatine? Which also drains powers from the suit. I thought it was a fun, it's mixing up of it. It's a white dude using electricity powers against a black person.
Is that a trope?
Yeah, there's a trope of black people always having electricity powers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Static shock, black lightning.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so. He pieces off the suit and is about to kill Riri, but his better side prevails and drops her, warning her to leave the city before Parker finds out she's still alive. It looks like he might find out sooner than later, as Clown comes to just in time to see Riri running away without a suit. I thought this was really effective, and obviously, the effect of him ripping up a lot of the suit, including pulling out the spine and
the spine part,
the helmet off.
Yeah.
And then just the line of I'm just like my father, fighting an Iron Man.
Yeah, fighting an Iron person or some shit.
Yeah, something. Again, ironic. So. Riri heads home and at long last asks her mother for help. She catches her up on everything that's been going on and says they need to leave the city. Rodney tells her she can't keep running, that when things get difficult, and that her focus on the suit is what keeps making things difficult for her. She asks Riri why she built it in the first place. It doesn't buy the same reason Riri's been giving everyone else because she could. Prompting Riri to give the real reason, because she wanted to do something to help after losing Gary and Natalie. She wanted to create something that would have intervened that night they were killed, or at the very least have gotten help faster since the paramedics arrived too late. Ronnie tells her that making them all safe is not Riri's responsibility alone, and says that this time she will help her fight back. So will Natalie, who is apparently no longer mad at Riri. Yeah, she was in sleep mode the entire time, and comes to just the important time to jump scare everybody. Riri, Ronnie, and Natalie head to Gary's garage, where Ronnie proposes as a place for Riri to work on a solution to the Parker problem. The garage still holds a lot of trauma for Riri, who resists staying until Ronnie shows her an old wrench embossed with the words "Property of Ironhead." When Riri plays dumb about what the words mean, Natalie projects a memory for her, one of Riri as a child dancing with Gary in the garage, where he insists she needs to take a break from working so hard, until she topples over and bangs her head, leading to the Ironhead nickname. Very sweet.
Yeah, I like this scene. I thought this was good. This was like, hey, good tech. I don't know.
There was a key line here. It's like, you're trying to remove all the sad memories, and you start to forget all the good ones, or all the important ones.
Yeah.
The memory is enough to prompt Riri to apologize to Natalie for causing a problem earlier and admit to that Ronnie was right. And she needs to stay and fight. The problem, she has nothing to build a new suit with. The solution, the old car Riri and Gary were working on, which Ronnie bought back when she first heard Riri was coming home.
Yep, makes sense.
Yep. Car turned into an Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
The crew returns to Parker's headquarters with Zeke presenting Parker with Riri's helmet as evidence of her death. He avoids sharing the details of how he supposedly killed Riri, which cast... It's a terrible liar.
Terrible liar.
Cast doubt on the story. Initially, it seems like Clown is going to give the truth away, but she only shares parts of it. How Riri took the rest of them out, and how Zeke tore pieces of her armor before killing her. The seed of doubt Riri planted have obviously taken root in Clown's mind. Having her confirmation is enough for Parker to believe the story. He walks Zeke out, offering him a spot on the crew as thanks. Zeke turns him down, but Parker says Riri did the same thing before ultimately coming back, and he remains certain Zeke will do the same. As soon as they leave, Clown asks Slug to hack into an autopsy report for her, wanting to investigate further. When they do get the report, Clown accuses Parker of killing Stewart.
No, I'm just fucking rampage.
Since your autopsy report lists that he died of an overdose. What a cameo by.
I love how Eric Andre has been in several episodes.
Eric Andre
we just seen a picture of him dead. And he gets credited for it as well. Yeah. It's technically an episode. So.
Yeah. Since the autopsy reports lists that he died of an overdose, even though he didn't do drugs, the voices of the hood turn Parker against the crew, and he fires them all. Turning against him, but giving into that anger has a price, and the black veins that cover his arms and back start to creep up onto his face. The next day, Landon turns up at the garage with Riri, Natalie, and Ronnie, looking for his wagon, offering to help. Can't believe she never returned it.
$600, I think, is what he said he's owed.
In this economy, I mean,
that's a lot of money,
Understandable. He was making a lot of money with that wagon. She never brought it back.
Yeah, I get it.
Left, and she went back to that to Ezekiel's base. He could have picked it up.
Totally fair.
But the kind of help any of them, can offer isn't what Riri needs. As she tells them that whatever she's adding to the suit to fight off Parker in the hood is draining the battery on the suit. She realizes she needs to fight magic with magic.
Special kind of magic.
They bring in Zelma, who suggests borrowing power from Dormammu to power the suit. Riri is reluctant to take that option since it would tether her to the dark dimension like it did Parker, but the group is interrupted by Xavier, who arrives to help. Having found the note that Riri left for him in the box of headphones she got him after her first payday with the crew. The note
took a month to open those. Like, Jesus Christ.
He wanted to keep listening to the headphones his sister had.
Yeah.
But they finally stopped working, I guess. Although, from the sound of the thing that stopped working, I wouldn't have automatically assumed it was the headphones. It sounded like the actual device was stopped working.
It sounded like his Wi-Fi died or something.
Yeah. The note might have predated the fight, but for wherever it was enough to remind him of why they're friends to begin with. He admits he still finds the idea of AI Natalie unsettling, but accepts that she's important to Riri. With the team assembled, they get to work on Riri's suit, repurposing the old car and going to the junkyard for anything else they're missing. Even Zelma is helping, working on spells to harness the magic needed to power the suit.
I like this montage.
Yeah.
That was a well done montage. I'll say, let me commit. This montage I thought was good and served the purpose of showing everyone working together for this common cause. And also I like that shot where it almost shows like Riri like looking around saying like, yes, it's coming together. I believe in us. I think we can do it. Compare this to the montage I didn't like last episode, which was her testing the cape for what felt like 5 minutes. Because you really could just cut to a scene of her going, oh my God, I've tried everything. Acid, nothing works. And it would have achieved the same. I don't think it needed the montage. You know?
No. Also, just put the words on the whiteboard that we can actually read.
Yeah.
It's too hard reading it backwards.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a good montage.
So. Zeke returns to his old neighborhood to pick up some of his stuff and has yet another confrontation with his unpleasant neighbor, Heather. It's only when he calls him an insult to his father's legacy that he turns on her and tries to zap her prized flower beds, but finds his bionics aren't working like they were before. Which is a shame because she deserved to get her flowers completely wrecked. You know what I mean?
100%. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was disappointed. Parker should have let him destroy those plants before that. You know?
The hood fucked us all, really. But,
really? Yeah.
By not letting us see as well.
Yeah. Would you know, Parker chooses this exact moment to pull up and explain that he's the one in control of Zeke's enhancements. To prove his point, he orders Zeke into the car. Zeke has no choice but to comply.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming, especially after it changed the admin name to his name.
Like, okay, that's kind of weird, Yeah. I didn't think this was what it meant. Yeah. And I think Alden Ehrenreich does a good job of, like, the resistant but then having to comply kind of robotic thing.
Especially when he's, like, fighting Riri later. I like the... Or like fighting the goons where they go in a second and he's like, sorry, like.
Or even during the dinner or the meal that we'll talk about later. Together, the two drive to a gated mansion, the same one that he and John tried to rob all those years ago when things went wrong, and break in through the gate. Zeke fights off the security guards, apologizing profusely as he does, while Parker lets himself into the house. There, he bumps into his father, Arthur. Gives him
into him. It's his house.
What are the odds? Gives him the same spiel he gave the other billionaire CEOs. This time, though, the conversation seems more personal. So, shocker. Parker tells Arthur he's got a compelling interest in all the other companies in his portfolio. The other companies that targeted no longer seem so random, and tells him he wants him to sign over his company artworks as well as the mansion. I don't know if that's a... Is that what you're looking up?
No. But I will say, if I did, there's some convoluted stuff that happens here and whatever, I'll just choose. But the one thing I did like is that it connected everything that they were doing, at least. Like, it made it more than just their...
There was a reason those companies were targeted.
Yeah. It at least added something to that. But having said that, I do feel like it completely flubs the... like, giving more to this story. Like, it's just like, it's his daddy and they've got history there and let's have a little argument for 2 minutes and whatever, move on. Yeah. I feel like it, again, didn't get the time it deserved.
Arthur refuses, of course, and then Parker gets to the heart of the issue. It's not about the money, it's about understanding why his father would throw him out when he was only 12 years old. Arthur tells his son he was a liability, but by the sound of things, all he was a grieving child whose mother had died and whose father couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him unless he was in trouble.
Again, trauma brings everyone together. And trauma are the series in which Mephisto appears.
Yet another person in this show with so much grief and nowhere to put it. Arthur bluntly tells Parker that he didn't want him, so he cut his losses and it wasn't anything personal. I feel like when rich people don't want their kids around, they just send them to Swiss boarding schools or something, so this feels especially cold. With a gun to his head, Arthur signs the papers. Parker tells him to get out of the city and not to breathe a word to the police at the cost
of
Get out
of my house.
Yeah. Parker's threat and use of his powers come to cost as more veins creep up his face. Back in the garage, Riri's suit is finally looking sleeker than the original model. So far, it looks like things are working, so Zelma steps in to add the magic component, but not before reminding Riri that magic comes at a cost, and that something will be lost in the process.
I love when they say, "Hey, this comes at a cost. You give you something, it takes something." And Riri goes, "Yep, no worries." Fast forward 3 seconds when they're losing something.
What the fuck?
Oh god, what's happening? Like,
not that thing. I didn't want that thing.
When I said I'm ready, I didn't mean that. It's like.
Riri tells her to go ahead and steps into the circle Zelma's drawn on the floor. Things start off fine, even as power infuses the suit in a way Riri can feel. But the more the magic takes, the more Natalie starts to fade. Zelma tries to undo things while Riri tries to turn Natalie to something other than the suit, but they're not able to undo what they've done, and Natalie disappears. She doesn't just disappear from sight; the AI disappears from Riri's system entirely. Rough.
You know? Ghost in the machine, yeah.
Thought it was going to be this. I thought going to this last episode, it was going to be like her having to deal with this grief again. You know, and I guess she kind of does,
in some ways.
In a way, with everything up in the air, we head into the final episode of the season. And please do not let this be the final episode of the series. With Parker flashing back once again to the first attempted heist of his father's house with John, and this time we follow him after the two split up. As he flees through a tunnel in a nearby park, he's not alone. He's greeted by a stranger wearing the hood that will eventually become Parker's, whom I'll be calling the hooded man for now.
I'll say, when I saw him, and I didn't click onto who it was or anything, but I went, oh, that's right. I forgot they cast Sacha in the show.
Yeah,
like we knew that, but
we knew that.
Forgot.
And his role had always been very kept under wraps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He enters the door, one leading to the pizzeria Parker now uses as his headquarters, and ushers him inside. Far from the rundown place it is now, the pizzeria is fully operational. The two of them sit down for a meal. The hooded man immediately proposes that the two of them should work together, promising that he can help Parker achieve the greatness he craves, saying he's not fulfilling his potential, and Parker has no idea what to make of any of this, at least not until the hooded man silences everyone in the whole restaurant. He asks Parker what he wants most, and Parker tries to say he wants power and respect, but when it comes down to it, he just wants to be stupidly rich like his father. The hooded man says he won't give Parker everything he wants, but he will make sure that Parker can do it for himself. When Parker asks what the hooded man is getting out of this, he just says it's something Parker won't miss. And I understand not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth, but also not doing the exact same thing is how the city of Troy fell. So maybe Parker needs to ask one or two more questions.
Do you feel like with these returning to this restaurant thing, are we trying to say pizza's the devil? Or pizza's the devil's food? You know? Like, what are we trying to say here? That's
a good question. Do you know?
Because he comes back here later.
It's all about temptation, and everybody's tempted by pizza.
I mean, I'm trying.
Everybody fails to overcome the temptation of pizza.
I mean, I feel like that's fair, but
unless you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah, I mean,
even if you are lactose intolerant, some people fail.
No, I'm lactose intolerant. I just don't want to put lactose-free cheese on it. They charge me $3 extra because they love to fuck me. Love that for me, you know. Just paid $3 extra because of my inability to eat lactose. But I will say, when not to jump ahead, but when Riri obviously comes to the same place, my first thought wasn't like, oh, here's this motherfucker. My first thought was, is pizza bad? You know?
Yeah, it raises a very interesting.
It's question. A choice to set it in the same location. I feel.
Yeah. He doesn't know, and he accepts the hooded man's offer, and that is how Parker became the Hood, and the hooded man is revealed to be. Well, we'll get there. In present day, Parker is living like the king he wants to be, having taken over his father's mansion and business. Of course, he has no friends or family to share it with. So very reluctant Zeke, who is still unwillingly being kept nearby. He asks Zeke again whether he killed Riri, and I guess his control over the bionics can only apply to physical commands and not mental ones, as it doesn't compel Zeke to tell the truth. One thing Parker's control can do, however, is having Zeke prevent anyone from harming him, Zeke himself included, which he learns the hard way when he tries to stab Parker with a fork. Unable to cause physical harm, Zeke resorts to verbal jabs, telling Parker he doesn't belong where he is, which Parker takes as some kind of literal challenge, and the two return to the pizzeria together. He might play it cool, but it's clear he's very bothered by no longer having the crew around. Victory isn't so sweet when you have no one to celebrate it with. He's just a sad boy.
He
just wants a family.
Mm.
Someone else decidedly not celebrating is Riri, who's at the garage, expending every effort to recreate the Natalie AI. Despite replicating the process the brain scan won't take, and she's unable to regenerate her friend. She's decided that they can and will revisit the question of finding Natalie once she gets Parker's hood from him, and she takes out the newly magically enhanced suit against the advice of Selma, Ronnie, and Xavier. Back at Parker's headquarters, he's headed into the hood vault and calls up the hooded man, who finally appears to him. Parker is dissatisfied with the terms of their agreement, saying the hooded man is holding out on him, while also taking his payment in the form of the scars left on Parker's body, which in fairness he has only promised the tools to get everything he wanted. There was no level of success guaranteed, so technically they both held up their ends of the deal. Parker's problem now is having gotten everything he wants, everything feels empty. The hooded man suggests that he turns his attention and gifts to someone more appreciative. Someone like Riri arrives at the pizzeria and is met downstairs by Zeke, where she automatically detects the voice command override that allows Parker to take control of him. Before she can deal with that, though...
I love the scan of... It appears... like the prompt says, like, voice control or something like that. Oh, it appears you've been hacked.
Admin error.
Yeah, it's like such a specific weird scan, but sure.
Before she can deal with that, though, as well as the fallout of her and Zeke's friendship, she asks him to move so she can talk to Parker, and the two of them have a fight since she can't let Parker see her. Riri tells Zeke that because Parker is controlling him, if he strikes him somewhere without bionics, his body will go into crisis mode, allowing her to override Parker's control. Fortunately, he's willing to try, but unfortunately the only place she can think of is to hit him hard enough is the crotch.
Makes sense.
Which is the ultimate reset.
I'm surprised he didn't put bionics in there, because if you put bionics in there, I don't...
Most blokes would...
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
The plan works, but it does put him to sleep temporarily so he can hard reset. She leaves him behind with him telling her that they aren't done. Whole sequence very fun. And yes, her proposing the idea of hitting him in the crotch, very funny. And again, like, you know, we might be cool now, but you know, we aren't done. You know?
I'm a villain in the back pocket, ready for potential programming.
You still screwed me over.
Yeah.
And I might have taken it too far by completely enhancing my body, but you know, you broke one promise. Finally, Riri makes it upstairs to confront Parker and tells him she needs his hood. He accuses her of wanting his powers, but she tells him that it's not worth what it could cost her. He disappears just as she engages the magic built into her suit, which prompts him to rematerialize, but only for a moment before they start fighting in earnest. By this point, Parker is too far gone, Hood turning him into a literal monster. Vampiric-ish in some regards. Riri engages the suit's emergency protocol. Reed makes it blow up, which leaves her defenseless and staring down the barrel of Parker's gun, or at least that's what appears to have happened. The explosion and Riri's subsequent subtleness were all a hologram generated by the suit, and she uses Parker's confusion to rip the hood off of him.
Yeah, I mean, I like this as a... Like, it takes the whole... Like, obviously, the hologram has been a big part of this particular suit and her storyline and whatever. Like, having, like, a souped-up hologram power it makes sense.
Yes. And again, so glad they did not destroy this.
No, very true. I'm sitting there watching and going, you don't deserve anything.
Like, it's like 30 minutes.
Less. Way less. It felt like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn to fight first, you know? Without the hood, however, Parker is a wreck, telling Bree he's in pain, but she just leaves him to wallow in it. Pretty brutal. But, you know, sometimes that's, you know, I've, you know, sometimes you need to let a drug addict deal with the what's the word? Like, the nicotine pangs or whatever.
The addiction, the urges, the addiction,
urges or the. Yeah, there's definitely a word that I can't find.
I'm trying to think. I know exactly what you're trying to say. And the fact that I also cannot think, even though I know what you're trying to say, is sort of more frustrating. Because
I think my thing is more frustrating.
Because I know exactly what it is as an ex-smoker. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
This is something I assume will come back in this potential season 2, but the biggest case this episode makes for continuing the series comes next when Riri takes the elevator down and walks out to find the hooded man seated at his usual table. He invites her to join him. He disengages her from the suit and takes it away, forcing her to sit to hear what he has to say. Riri quickly pieces together that this is the man who gave Parker the hood, but can't figure out what he wants with her. He says he's been watching her and is fascinated by how determined she is, even in the face of bad luck in a world that doesn't notice her and her talents. He suggests they work together to build something iconic, citing her own words back to her. With including mentioning that he's behind the top 100 of all the 100 business people, a whole bunch of other people, and he's the one who got Ringo in the Beatles.
Yeah, he starts talking about a bunch of people he's collected like Pokemon. Is basically what he starts talking about. Which once it's revealed who he is, it makes more sense.
Yeah. With that sale pitch over, Riri calls the hooded man Dormammu, and from that moment he starts laughing. I knew exactly where this was going. Yes, this character was rumored to appear in the series, but I also tend not to trust rumors. I see it lest I'd be disappointed if they don't come to pass, or else just disappointed ahead of time. But I danced around
rumors because who the fuck was reading rumors about this show or thought that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, who was expecting it to go this direction anyway? I danced around it long enough, so the hooded man finally introduced himself, saying his name is Mephisto. Yes, Mephisto. Riri asks if that's supposed to mean something to her.
No, it's supposed to mean something to the audience. That whole my name is. I have many names.
Yeah,
but you can call me Mephisto, and it's really yes, audience, it's me. And she's like, is that supposed to mean something? No, it's for them.
It's disappointing you didn't just turn to the camera and wink.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I might just be too online and born witness to too much discourse, but right now I can honestly say that I wish I were able to hear the name and have it mean nothing to me. Mephisto then asks what he can do for her, and Riri's thoughts are filled with nothing but Natalie. Mostly AI Natalie, as that is his most recent loss, but the point remains, she misses her best friend. Mephisto reads her thoughts and says he can give her what she's looking for, and he gives her the same condition he gave Parker. That is nothing that she would miss. Whether she asked more questions than Parker did is unknown, but Mephisto tells Riri that the pain of her loss never goes away and that she can fix the pain she's feeling. And she agrees on the condition that he doesn't go for anyone else she loves. We jump ahead to the garage with Riri up to eyeballs and work.
And he says so there is something about the way he's using his fucking British accent to make this character. It was like, oh, it's only you I want, or
We jump to the garage with Riri up to eyeballs at work. Natalie reappears wearing the same outfit she had on the night she was killed, only she looks very confused to be there and looks around for Gary. She also doesn't respond to Riri's request to run diagnostics, and that's when it becomes clear this isn't AI and Natalie. This is the real Natalie, somehow back from the dead. Riri hugs her best friend, and as she does, the first inky black vein sprouts on her arms. That's the conclusion. It's like, that's how you're gonna end it. She this whole series about her dealing with the grief of her friend, only to make a deal with the devil to bring her back.
The devil, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It feels very much like the halfway point.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah. I mean, also to not have made it clear at any point, Riri thinking it was going to be the AI version, I guess. Brought back.
Well, I mean, when they cut back to Mephisto, it's talking about how hard it is to bring her back from the dead.
Yeah. So then we have a post-credit scene, which is Parker going to Stanton's, the candy shop that we saw earlier in episode 4, and meeting Zelma and asking her for to see some of the bigger magic, some of the abracadabra, implying that this potentially isn't the last we've seen of Parker. He's going to get that hood back. Right. Any other final thoughts on Ironheart?
No, I mean, it's really interesting. I'd like to see maybe in the coming days, like obviously Mephisto's a character that people really, really wanted to see. He's being debuted in a show that apparently everyone hates. It's that awkward dilemma.
So funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder where they move forward. Like this show's not getting a second season because I just doubt like it's getting a second season. As much as I want, I would want one. That's my answer to that. It deserves one. I think, and we've got half a story here. It's not like we're asking for 5 seasons. I'm just like, I feel like I've seen half a season, half a story. Just give me 6 more episodes, But if they don't get there, then where are we taking Mephisto? What are we doing?
I mean, I don't know where they'll put Mephisto, but I think an interesting point to take Riri and potentially this story is if they were going to do the Young Avengers / Champions / whatever they want to do with a lot of the younger characters. If that's a TV series, then maybe that's something they explore there. I don't know if it's a movie, maybe they explore it there as well, like her deal with the devil and what ramifications that's going to have. Or, yeah. I don't know. Or maybe this will be part of a Doctor Strange kind of world or something. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's a lot of potential directions it can go, but no clear ones.
At least for Mephisto, it's just seeing her story play out properly is going to be what we're going to get screwed over on.
Yeah. It's like, what is he actually taking? That's what
he does. He takes her souls in the comics. That's the deal. He collects souls. That's when he starts talking about collecting Pokemon. He collects all souls.
But I'm pretty sure people would miss their souls, right?
I'll be honest. I didn't know fuck all about Mephisto until about 4 years ago. Do you want to know when I found out so much about Mephisto? That's right. When WandaVision and all, and everyone kept mentioning the fucking name, and I felt obligated.
He's going to be Mephisto behind everything.
Yeah, and I felt obligated to watch several very long YouTube videos about the fucking character's history. Yeah.
Finally paid off.
Finally paid off. You know what I mean?
All right. Let us know what you thought of Ironheart and Mephisto finally showing up in the MCU by letting us know on Blue Sky at ExplosionNetwork.com or find us on other social media at ExplosionPod. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and you can leave 5 stars or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. This brings us to the end of Phase 5 of the MCU.
Whoa.
So really? I'm planning to do an MCU Phase 5 wrap-up episode like we did for Phase 4. So make sure you join us next time.
Be us, because I feel like Kieran's only watched 3.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's going to be us. So join us next time for another All New Marvelcast.